Sarah.
Hi, I'm Eilish.
Hi, I'm Ella, and this is Paco.
And today we're just having a bit of a loose chat, just talking about things in general. I think the three of us are on our own little development journeys as women, and we've had quite a few like chats over text about pretty interesting topics, and we kind of just wanted to discuss them on the channel. Yeah.
We're just going to see where the conversation goes and then title the video accordingly. So
yeah,
don't get mad if we touch on one subject and then touch on 5 others.
Yeah, it's pretty chill.
I think we should start with what Eilish said about feminine energy, because I myself haven't been involved. I haven't been proactive with staying in touch with stuff like that. Like, my mum is quite into energy healing. My aunt actually practices it professionally, but I myself have never really taken it seriously. Like, I meditate sometimes, and that's the closest I get to like being in touch with like my mindfulness. But other than that, I am definitely open to learning as much as I can. So I'm here to listen.
So for anyone listening, I am not an expert. This is just what I've learned on my own individual journey, and I'm happy to share what I know to be true and what I've experienced myself. So the feminine energy, we all have both masculine and feminine energies within us. And I think society today like is kind of more masculine. It's all about like achieving, doing, constantly working towards something. It's like this drive. We're always kind of putting pressure on ourselves, or we always want more. It's always like this searching, this masculine, like thinking all the time energy. So I have had to tap more into my feminine energy, which is like that nurturing side to myself, and learning how to like nurture myself and tap into nature, tap into my cycle, and kind of just come home to who I am as a woman and honor that. And I've lost my train of thought. If anyone wants to add.
I mean, I was just going to say it's quite interesting, like that the masculine energy is like the driving force one, like constantly like making you want to do more, and like is the one that's putting pressure on you, and that the feminine one is the nurturing one. I feel like that's really interesting, especially when you think about like society's expectations of us. Like the energies almost like give us like an origin for why the society is the way it is. I don't know, and I wonder like maybe if women struggle with like, you know, some women don't want to be a mum. I wonder if that's because they have got more masculine energy.
It could be, but also I think again it's like that pressure around like having children. That's again society. That's like we have this like structure in society that we have to, you know, go to university, we have to find the perfect partner, we have to get married, we have to have kids, and it's kind of like we're convinced that that's going to make us happy. And it's like questioning that, like you have to like find your own truth and your own alignment in life, and what your soul kind of is calling you to do in this world. And it might not be having kids, and that doesn't mean you're not honoring your divine feminine. It means that you're honoring it. Actually means you're honoring it because you're staying true to who you are and what you want. And I completely get your point though. Again, we're kind of like, you know, well, you can't be successful if you're like going off having kids all the time. It's kind of like that thing, but then it's like there's so much you can be successful if you have kids. You have to just find your own wheel. Like you can, like, you know,
it basically implies that success is subjective, which it 100% is, because my example of success, I really want to be a mum. I really want a big family. I want to live in a house in the middle of nowhere, have loads of dogs and animals, and I want some pigs, and like that's my idea of success. But then someone else's idea of success might be, you know, financial stability, a really good job, you know, like the highest of high education. I don't know, like
I think the problem with even like this idea of success is it takes us away from the now. It makes us constantly feel that we're not good enough because we haven't succeeded what we think is success to us. It takes us away from the moment. It takes us away from our natural connection to the earth, just like the simple things, like even like our senses, just like we don't embrace the moment. We're constantly on a rat race to success, but that's not what life's about. We're meant to embrace our moment, the moment and the opportunities that we have now, instead of constantly being focused on the future or the past, which I know is difficult. Like I'm one who's constantly focused in the future, but that again I've recognized is my masculine energy, constantly wanting more and on that kind of rat wheel. So it's about like tapping into like the moment and embracing the opportunities you have now, because when you do this, like life is bliss. I mean bliss. Like you just appreciate everything. You're like, I am so blessed to be here. Like this is an experience. This is like joy. This is success. This is happiness.
So many times I felt like that have been on holidays. And when I say holidays, I don't mean like the places and the resorts that my parents took me as a kid. I mean, last summer, me and my girlfriend went camping in this gorgeous place called Gorge de Vardon. And the water is like the most beautiful shade of blue. We went canoeing, we were camping, so everything was very, very like do it yourself kind of vibe. And I just find it mad that life is like, I mean, how people normally get what, like 2-3 weeks of holiday a year when they have like a full-time job. That is fucking crazy that you work that percentage of a year so that you can live that percentage of a year.
And you know what's so interesting? Like you're saying about like camping is very much do it yourself. Like that, is that not just, you know, being at one with nature? You're literally like, you're not in a house, you're like outside enjoying what the world has to offer.
Exactly. I like, it's just me and the person that I chose to be with on our own in a beautiful place. And I wish I could say that I didn't take as many photos as I did. I mean, I love photography. It's a brilliant creative outlet for me. And I do like living in the moment, but I also love a good Instagram post. So I'm kind of conflicted with that. But at the same time, like, if I think, I mean, when I was listening to you talk just then, I was like, when was the last time I felt really in touch and happy and like content and just peaceful? And I was like canoeing on that river, next to those waterfalls with the girl I love in this freezing cold water. I mean, it was beautiful, but it was so fucking cold.
I think as well, like, it's on the topic of success, and then like when we feel that feeling, I think like obviously I had like quite a bad bout of depression for like a good year, and I really was focusing on the future, and like, you know, my future is I want to be happy, I want to finish my degree, I want this and this and this, constantly focusing on that. And I ended up going and staying with my boyfriend in Ireland, and I started to notice every day like the little successes, like actually getting out of bed, actually having a wash, and like the tiny things. And then one day I actually woke up and I felt really like energetic, and to me I was just like, we need to do something right now, like we have to go somewhere. And we decided to go for a walk, and actually that's when we went to Monet Castle, Eilish. So like, and you know, I said I loved Monet Castle. That was probably the last time I felt like that. And I was just walking around this castle. It's like literally like ruins of a castle, and I was just imagining it fully built, fully functional, with people running around like in their old outfits. And I was just like, I felt like a child in that moment. I was literally like to Jordan, like going in all the different rooms and just imagining what they were for. And like I had, oh my god. And then the farmer or whatever came with he rang a bell for the cows, and like the castle's surrounded by fields, and all these cows started running to this guy with the bell coming to get his food. And I was like, this is crazy. I was like, this is amazing.
That's so nice.
But I think like it's so interesting when you, like, both of us have just given examples of a time when we felt like that, and it's actually very much to do with nature. Do you know what I mean?
Away from society and, you know, earning money to spend money on things that don't really bring you joy and things that waste your time, and just, you know, doing the same thing every day. I mean, I know that when I had my year, my dark year, it was during the 1 year I did at university, and it was a lot about thinking about the future and the pressure. And is that person that I'm dating really the best for me? And oh my God, the workload. It wasn't actually a big workload, but it was my own procrastination that was sabotaging myself. It was my saboteurs. I want to do a video on that. I just remembered saboteurs. It's a really, really interesting topic. But my saboteurs really fucks with me. And I ended up making my entire art show about my own depression. And I drew like illustrations about what my depression looks like to me. And that kind of helped me, but it also kind of, what's the word for when you imagine something and when you imagine it, it becomes like true and real? Like I thought about my depression and I decided to focus my art on my depression, and then I just kind of got absolved with it, like I metabolized it.
Yeah.
Kind of manifest that into your reality.
Yeah, kind of. Like my mom would say, I put it out into the universe and then it came back to me. That's what she would say. She was like, if you want good to come to you, you need to put good out into the universe. Yeah. And that's what happened. But it was during the structural school year. And I've always hated school for that reason in particular.
It's like that pressure that, so this idea of success and like the rat race, it's like this is what society has put on us. This is what they've made us to believe that we should be doing. We have lost, as I can't remember which one of you said, our connection to nature. And I remember watching a video in class on James Hillman, I think his name is, a psychologist, and he was talking about how like we're constantly like searching for something outside of ourselves, but what we've really lost is our connection to nature. And I think it really makes you think though, like, is that the life you want? Like that success, that constant like pressure, that that business kind of lifestyle, like you're told that's what you want by others, but is that really what you want? Do you not want to be at peace with yourself, in bliss, in happiness? Like what is aligned with what you actually want? Because I think we all get caught up in what other people want us to be or what society wants us to be, that we lose ourselves in this. And then I think that's where anxiety and depression comes up, because we're not in alignment. We're not in alignment with who we truly are. And it's just nuts. Like, it's like we're living this mad illusion, and it's like we're waiting to wake up and be like, no, this is wrong. Like, this isn't right. This isn't going to make you happy.
It literally reminds me of the movie Soul on Disney Plus. You know, like when they're in the moment or whatever, and they're a lost soul, and you know when they capture that lost soul and they release him back into the world, and he's literally like, what, an accountant or a, you know,
like just a paper pusher, number presser, like, and
he literally just he was back in the he just threw the computers off the thing. He was like, I'm alive, I'm free. Like, do you know, and it just reminds me of that. But like
what you just explained, I've realized, is what a lot of people who are still, let's call it the bubble, the like social norms bubble, the people that have lived their whole life in that bubble, and then they go out and they're like, holy crap, like this is what I need to do to be happy. I'm going to invest my money in this now, like screw my last job, I'm going to move on, try something new. My life is not over, like just because I'm middle-aged. These people who are still in the bubble call that person having a midlife crisis. No, they just woke up and decided that they've got all this money that they saved for, I don't know, some kid that was never born's college tuition, and they were like, I'm going to use that to teach myself something else and then start a new job. And it's just like, we should be applauding those people, not calling them crazy.
I think it really comes back to like this fear around what other people think of us. And I think now that I'm kind of like looking at the more psychology side of things, it's helping me personally, so I'm going to share this, is that everything someone thinks of you or what you think of them is a projection of you. So if you're judging someone else, that stems from you, something within you that you can't look at yet maybe, or you're not ready to accept, but it's got nothing to do with that other person. Like your whole life is literally like a reflection of you, and you judging people and undermining people or not respecting their choices, that all lies with you. So when I'm like in a place where I'm like, oh, I can't do this, I'm not ready to do this, like what will people think of me, like they're gonna think I'm so weird, I think, wait, like that's me thinking that about myself. Like it doesn't matter what other people think, really. It doesn't. I know people say this, but it really doesn't, because that lies with them, and that's okay. That's where they are in their journey, and I respect that. But we have to really realize it, like, because anytime I even catch myself judging someone, I'm like, oh God, right, what does that mean for me now? Like, I'm like, why am I doing that?
Really healthy way of thinking. I really applaud that. That's very
we really have to question how we see other people and why are we judging them and why, but it lies within you.
I think as well, like, if you, I don't know about if, like, if either of you are, well, when either of you have gone through like a stage of like poor mental health, it's like biggest thing for me, and pretty much the reason that I went so as suicidal as I did, was the fact that I was like, I'm a real burden on everybody. Like, I was like, I'm not getting out of bed. My flatmate's worrying about me. My flatmate's having to wash my hair for me, cook my meals for me, make me tea, constantly check up on me. Do you know? And then I went home and I'm like, my mom's trying to work. I'm 21 years of age and I'm literally sat on the floor while she's working, waiting for her to do something for me. And the whole thing, I was like constantly like, no, someone is worrying about me. And obviously that worry comes from care and love and affection and wanting me to be okay. But in my head, I was a burden and I was making that person's life so much worse. And I think it's so interesting when you say like, it's a reflection of how you feel. And I think it wasn't that I was the burden, it was just that what was going on with me was a burden on me. And like, I think as well, since like starting to talk about it and come out about it more, I think the burden's being lifted massively. Like, I wasn't talking about it at all, and now that I am, it's like, and even my mum said, like, the month that I was home for Christmas, she said, you've changed. Like, when you first got back, I was so worried about you. You weren't talking, you know, you were just sitting staring at the floor like all day. And she's like, when I decided I wanted to go back to uni, she was like, you don't realize how massive that is. Like, you know, you're getting out of bed every day, you're doing stuff, you're eating. Like, because the one thing, I wasn't hungry, I wasn't, like, I've got anorexia, but I genuinely had no desire. I didn't even think of food. I could smell bacon and I was just so unconvinced that I was like, oh, no. Whereas bacon normally would make anyone go, food. But like, I literally was like so lost at that moment. And then I genuinely, every day, me and my mum were talking for like 2-3 hours, and I was just talking out about how I feel and like all the things that I think trauma wise in my childhood like triggered me to be that way. And it like, the more I spoke, the more I realized that, you know, it wasn't me being a burden on others, it was this thing a burden on me, and it was making me feel like I was a burden on others, whereas they really just, you know, they were too busy concentrating on their own lives. They were worried, but it wasn't inflicting so much that it was causing them as much damage as it was causing me to think that. It's definitely like, as Ella says, I definitely think that's a really good way of thinking, to like always bring it back to yourself.
Having multiple perspectives, I mean, to question your perspective and things is really important as well. Like, I'll be like, right, I think this, and I'll be like, wait, why do I think that? Yeah, that's from my own experience, my own projection, and then try to see from other sides of things is really important. But I'm just thinking, now that you've mentioned that, and we were talking about divine feminine, divine masculine, I'm thinking about my own journey with anxiety. And I literally was like, I knew I had anxiety and it was crippling and it was horrible, but I just had to carry on. I was really pushing that masculine energy. I'm like, I'm fine, I'm grand, you know, keep going to work, keep, you know, forcing yourself up. Like, I was really just embodying that masculine energy. And it was only when I actually like started meditating and going within and tapping into my own feminine energy that actually I was able to face my anxiety and heal it. As in, like, the more I like forced myself like away from it, the more it was coming up. It was like I was fighting it, but it was actually making it worse. It's only when you turn to it, nurture it, and like find balance within the masculine, feminine energies within you that you can heal these things. Because yeah, so it's tapping into that like feminine, nurturing energy. And I know, like, this time last year, like, I was a completely different person. So I know, like, from the other side of things, there is a way out. You're not going to feel like this forever. And it's only when you go within and just explore your own, it's like self-study. You learn to study yourself, and it's like the best thing ever, because you kind of new perspective. Yeah.
I think as well, like, you put something on your Instagram like a while ago, and I spoke about it with my therapist as well, because it's just like, it's such a, oh, like, I mean, me and Ella have fangirled over your Instagram numerous times, just thinking, like, just saying it's so good, but
It's
it
amazing.
was,
Go check it out, link in the description.
yeah. But there was one part where you were like, you know, realizing that anxiety was actually like not your enemy, and realizing that, you know, like it's there, you know, anxiety is like it is a completely normal feeling. And my therapist's reaction was, no, unless you're like, I was getting severe anxiety, like where I couldn't move, I was literally collapsing, quite literally losing control of my bodily functions. Like, there were some really embarrassing stories I could probably tell you, whereas my whole body just flushed itself of impurities in public. Like loads of times like that, and like I was having like, you know, the severe reactions. And so the only time that your brain will make your body go into that is if you're actually in danger, like facing death, or facing, like, you know, say you're literally at gunpoint and someone's saying, I'm going to kidnap you and I'm going to kill you and I'm going to torture you. Your body will react the way that my body was, but I was reacting like that about running out of milk, or, you know, a little stain on my desk that is quite easily cleaned up with a piece of tissue. But like, I was literally reacting like that. And I think, like, when you start to realize, like, at the time I was so angry at myself. I was like, why am I getting so annoyed at that? It's such a small thing. But then when you realize, like, well, no, the anxiety is there for a reason. So then take a step back and be like, it's not your enemy, it's your friend. And it makes you realize that, you know, you're not okay with this little bit of mess, or the running out of milk. Maybe the reaction is a bit severe, but then, like, when you start to think about it, and when I did start to think about it, that was at the same time I got diagnosed with OCD. And what I realized was, when I'm out of control of something, I get that sort of reaction. And the more, like you say, self-study, the more I realize, like, I don't like mess. I don't like things when they're unclean. Everything has to be in color order for me. Do you know, like, and I hate when people touch my stuff. Like, I literally, if someone touches my mug or my cutlery, I have to wash it straight away. And I almost like dissociate it from it, like it's not mine anymore. It's theirs, kind of thing. And I think, like, self-study has really helped me, like, realize, and looking back on my life as well, it makes so much sense. I think self-study is such a massive part of becoming who you're meant to be.
I think I can't remember if I talked about this in my video or not, but it's about how when things like anxiety or depression come up, like society or like the medical field just says, right, here's some medication, this will help you. But like, we never ask, why is it there in the first place? Like, how can I like trace back where this came from? What is my body trying to tell me? Because it's like, your body's not out to get you. Your body loves you and it's trying to communicate with you. Unfortunately, it can't just talk to you. And anxiety and depression and, like, you know, whatever comes up for you, your body is trying to tell you something, and you have to kind of go back and really ask yourself, like, where is this coming from? And there's where the true healing lies. Like, I know medication is great and for short term, but you can never really heal unless you can trace where it's coming from and really like question what your body's trying to tell you. Because like, my body was just trying to wake me up for so long. Like, it was shaking me like, come on, woman, like, you need to stop, like, living a lie. So yeah, it's about tapping into your own knowing and just learning to listen.
I've been very lucky growing up, because me and my mum were never like really close. Like, some people are really like, they're best friends with their mum. I've never been like that with my mum, but me and my mum are very able, as I got older and I started to mature, we're very able to sit down and really talk in depth about our relationships. Like, my mum has a relationship with her colleagues, and I'll have a relationship with the girls in my school. And like, when I say relationship, I mean problems with the relationship. And we've always been able to psychoanalyze it and really depict and say to each other, like, well, why do you think that is? And really therapize each other, which has been really helpful growing up. And I feel like I've become a real people person because of it. So I thank her for that massively. But after I had my massive dip at uni with depression, I got to the point where I was like, this is so bad, and counselling is helping, but not enough. And I am just such a dick. Like, I really didn't like my own behavior. So I've pretty much been on antidepressants since then. And I know that you said it's a good temporary solution. And my mom said that as well when she supported it. She said, if you think that's what you need to do, then I support you. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm going to do that. And after trying a few different types, I ended up settling on one that really worked for me. And having taken it for about 2 years now, 2 or 3 years, I've noticed that if I forget, because I'm really forgetful, if I forget to take it for a couple of days, I will eventually be like, geez, I'm in a shit mood. Like, I am being really pissy. I'm being really horrible. I hate myself. What? I wonder what? Oh, the medication. And so I've come to this point where, yeah, I rely on it, but I don't want to. But I genuinely believe that without it, I'm a shitty version of myself, and the medication helps me to be the best version of myself. But I can't cry when I take the medication. Like, I think there was something really, yeah. So I recently messed up my knee. It's currently in like a big brace, and it's really, really, really painful. And when it happened, I was in so much pain, and I really, really, really wanted to cry, and I wanted to have a meltdown, and I literally couldn't. Like, there were just no tears, and that's really frustrating for me. And I know that it's the medication because it's happened in the past. So I'm conflicted there with like not being able to cry and actually have dark emotions, that like emotional emotions, you know, like sadness and upset and stuff like that. Or whether I just be a really shitty version of myself, which I really hate. Every time it happens, every time it comes around, I'm like, I just want to put that part of me in a door and just close it.
I think like the whole point of that is like, I think, and it links to what Eilish was saying, like that, you know, it is a temporary fix, but you do need to like work on it on the side. And I think that's what I was trying to say. Like, I've been on the meds as well, and actually I was put on, so I'm on sertraline, and normally they put you on 50 for, you know, like the initial thing, and I basically was on 150. And I'm also on 3 beta blockers a day, which like to help with like the panic attacks and stuff. And I was a zombie like for months, and I just, as soon as they reduced it to 100 milligrams of sertraline, like I think that's when I started, like, you know, at Christmas time, sort of like questioning like what was making me like that way. And I think that would really benefit like you, Ella. Like, why do you hate that person? What is it about that person that you don't like? How can I improve? And then, because I keep forgetting to take my meds as well. In fact, I've actually had to buy myself a pill box because I keep forgetting.
Mate, I'm so shit at remembering.
I'm literally like, and when I could tell in the past when I forget, like you say, but now I'm like, apart from the beta blockers, I think beta blockers I kind of do need, but the antidepressants, I'm like, I don't feel.
Continuing on the conversation about medication and depression and kind of that kind of taboo nearly about our dark side, you could say, or our shadow side. And I think it's so important to honor that part of us, because as soon as we don't honor that part of us, then we're breaking ourselves in pieces. Like, we need to fully honor ourselves as a whole person, good and bad. I think like the world literally, for some reason, we see things as like that's good, that's bad, but everything has good and bad in it. So to fully be whole, we have to embrace all that we are, which is our light and our darkness, and just fully embrace that and honor that part of you. Because I think I personally in the past haven't honored that part of me, and I've ended up really hurting myself on an emotional level for not being true to who I am. So yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, when I had my dark year, I 100% did that as well. I just completely ignored the dark side of me, and I was like, oh, this is just who I am. I'm just a miserable, slightly emo girl that likes to wear black baggy clothes, and I just don't like the teachers, and I just have an attitude and stuff like that. But it wasn't that. It was my depression getting the better of me. And instead of, you know, I'm not I'm not dim. Like I know people and I know what people's intentions are, but I just have this issue with authority and I let it get the better of me, and I just got into a really bad loop of bad attitude. And so when I did my my final pieces on illustrating my depression, I called it Umbra. I called my whole topic and the whole project Umbra, which is this sort of old worldy Latin word for shadow. And if you're standing in an umbra shadow, it means you're standing in complete darkness. And if you're standing in a penumbra shadow, it means you're standing in like semi-darkness. So if you can see a lunar eclipse, when it's a semi-lunar eclipse, when you like see it going over, that means you're in the penumbra shadow. And when it's completely like over the top and you can't see the sun at all, then that means that you're in the umbra shadow. And I called my demon Umbra. So that will stay with me forever. I'm thinking about getting a tattoo of it actually, because, you know, I recognized it and I am out the other side of it. I mean, not completely. I mean, Umbra's still there occasionally, but I'm definitely not seeing Umbra every single day. Let's just say that.
I feel like as well, like I think you can't have good without bad, because you never appreciate either side.
Very
and I think, yeah, I think everyone needs to remember that.
It was like, I think leading back to like when I said my anxiety was my best friend, my anxiety was my darkness, and from experiencing that darkness I found the light, which was my way back to myself and acceptance in that. So definitely light and dark, it's all good. It's all lessons, it's all growth, it's all beautiful.
I mean, if you think about my analogy of Umbra and the shadow, how often does an eclipse actually occur?
That is true.
It's very rare, and the majority of days we have the sun. So let's use that as a nice analogy and wrap this up with a nice positive ending.
Well, goodbye. Thank you for listening.
And thank you guys for educating me and like telling me your stories. Like, it's really interesting to always share and listen to other people struggling, because a lot of the times when you're suffering, you feel alone and you feel like no one else is going to understand. So it's really, really nice to hear other people talk about it.
Yeah, I like it that we had a little loose discussion that actually got quite deep, but in a good way. I'm happy with how it went. Anyway.
Thanks, okay, guys. See you guys in the next video.